Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call our special council meeting to order for Wednesday, September the 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Our second item on the agenda is a declaration of pecuniary interest. Council, does anybody have a declaration this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to our third item is approval of the agenda. We have a motion reads that the agenda of the special council meeting of September the 10th, 2025 be approved as presented. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Vadabonker. Comments and questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Council, we have a motion to move into camera to discuss three items. Before I read the motion, the first one's regarding wastewater division staffing. Does anybody wish to go into close for that, or is the memo on close enough? Okay, so we'll leave that as received. We have two other items. The second one's regarding joint fire service agreement with the town of Midland. I assume we're going to go into closed session to discuss that. And the third one's regarding personal matter regarding chief administrative officer. So, Councillor, motions that in accordance with the Town of Pantangasheen Procedural Bylaw 2023-50, the Council of the Town of Pantangasheen move into an in-camera session to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. I'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor LaRue, seconded by Councillor Waters. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed, and that is carried. And just for clarity, Council, it will be two items, 5.2 and 5.3. 5.1's already been received. And we'll adjourn into our closed meeting. Council, thank you. We'll rise from our closed session. We have a motion that reads that the Council of the Town of Pansangaline rise from an in-camera session with the report. I'll look for a mover, please. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Marchand. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That's carried. Council, we in closed session we had two items. One was regarding a joint fire chief service agreement with the Town of Midland. Second was regarding a personnel matter regarding a chief administrative officer. I have a motion that reads that the staff proceed as directed as per the in-camera session. I'll look for a mover, please. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Roux. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. And we'll look for a motion to adjourn at 6:48. It's moved by Councillor Roux, seconded by Councillor Marchand. All in favor? And we're adjourned at 6:48. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're going to call our council meeting to order for Wednesday, September the 10th, 2025. We're going to call our meeting to order at 7 p.m. We're going to move on to our land acknowledgement. Penetangshine respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people and their ancestors, now known as the Williams Treaties First Nations territory. This includes the Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Bosley First Nation, Arama First Nation, and the Georgina Island First Nation. Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. Also once home of the Huron-Wendat and more recently the historic settlement of the Métis, Penetangshine is now home to many Indigenous peoples. Penetangshine is proud of its Indigenous name, and more importantly, that for thousands of years, it has been and will continue to be an important homeland and gathering place for Indigenous people. We recognize that we are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters, and are responsible to ensure that our Mother of the Earth is here for future generations. Councillor Marchand, would you be able to lead us in the French version, please?
Penetangshine reconnaît avec respect que nous sommes situés sur le territoire traditionnel et de traité du peuple Anishinaabe et des ancêtres, maintenant connu sous le nom du territoire des Premières Nations visé par les traités Williams. Il s'agit du conseil tripartite des Chippewas composé de la Première Nation de Beausoleil, de la Première Nation de Rama, de la Première Nation de Georgina Island, de la Première Nation d'Alderville, de la Première Nation de Curve Lake et de la Première Nation de Hiawatha et de la Première Nation de Mississauga de Scugog Island. De plus, Penetangshine était établi jeudi de lieu de résidence des Hurons-Wendat et plus récemment d'un établissement Métis historique. La ville héberge aujourd'hui de nombreux peuples autochtones. Penetangshine est fière de son nom autochtone et de le plus important de fait que nous pendant des milliards d'années, a été et continuera d'être un important territoire et lieu de rassemblement des peuples autochtones. Nous reconnaissons que nous sommes les intendants et gardiens de cette terre et de ses eaux et que nous sommes responsables de veiller à ce que nous mettre à la terre soit présenté pour des générations à venir.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Council will ask us to stand, and Councillor Leroux, can you guide us in the council commitment, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. Engagement du Conseil pour la ville de Penetangshine. Nous sommes reconnaissants des nombreuses grâces accordées à Penetangshine et à ses citoyens dont la liberté, les possibilités et la paix dont nous jouissons. Que nous soyons des intendants dignes de tout ce qui nous a été confié. Nous demandons que toutes les personnes présentes et celles qui n'ont pas pu se présenter nous aident à promouvoir une bonne gouvernance, que nos décisions à titre de membres du Conseil soient éclairées et que nous soyons tous renforcés à prendre conscience de nos devoirs et responsabilités, que l'on nous accorde la sagesse, les connaissances, la volonté et la compréhension qui nous permettront de préserver la bonne fortune de la ville au bénéfice de tous, ainsi que de faire de bonnes lois et prendre de sages décisions. Merci de votre présence.
Thank you, Councillor Roux. Councillor Vadabunker, please.
Thank you, Worship. Council commitment for the town of Penetangshine. We are grateful for the many gifts which have been bestowed on Penetangshine and its citizens, including the gifts of freedom, opportunity, and peace that we enjoy. May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. We ask that all in attendance and those that could not be here assist us in promoting good government. May our decisions as members of council be enlightened, and may we all be strengthened in our awareness of our duties and responsibilities. May we be granted the wisdom, knowledge, will, and understanding to preserve the good fortune of the town for the benefit of all and to make good laws and wise decisions. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much, Councillor Vadabunker. Welcome, Council. Welcome, staff. Welcome, members of the public and those watching live. Emily, if you don't mind, help us with the fourth item, our public service announcement from Chief Renault, please.
Hello, and welcome to this evening's council meeting. Before we start, just a few messages. For those that require the washrooms are located just outside of council chambers, to the right, down the hall. Town Hall is protected by a single source fire alarm system. Should the fire alarm activate, please exit the building through the rear doors or the side doors. Make your way down to the parking lot closest to the church. In the event of a medical emergency, please dial 911. The address for Town Hall is number 10 Robert Street West in Penetanguishene. And I'd like to remind everyone that we have a public access defibrillator just outside of council chambers. I wish you a safe and good council meeting. Bonsoir et bienvenue à la ville de Penetanguishene et à la salle de conseil. Avant que nous commençons ce soir, une couple de messages. Si vous avez besoin de les chambres de bain sont situées juste à l'extérieur de la salle de conseil, au bout du corridor à votre droite. La salle de conseil est protégée d'un système d'alarme à feu de 1 stage. Si l'alarme à feu sonne, veuillez quitter la salle de conseil par les portes à l'arrière ou de côté et on se rejoint dans le stationnement près de l'église. En cas de problèmes médicaux, veuillez signaler le 911. L'adresse ici est le numéro 10 rue Robert-Ouest à Penetanguishene. Et je veux vous rappeler qu'il y a un défibrillateur public juste à l'extérieur de la caserne. Je vous souhaite une bonne soirée. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you again, Chief Renault. And thanks, Emily, for playing that. Number 5, council, is our approval of the agenda. We have a motion reads that the agenda of the regular council meeting for September the 10th, 2025 be approved as presented. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Council, next item is a declaration of pecuniary interest. Anybody have a declaration this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 7. 7 is open forum, an opportunity for members of the public to address council on anything that's important to you. You have 2 minutes for that. We'd ask that you register with Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, is anyone registered for open forum this evening?
Thank you, Your Worship. There's no one registered for open forum this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Emily, is anyone online that wishes to address council this evening? No, thank you. Number 8, statement by members, an opportunity for council to share with the public the work that they're doing on your behalf. Councillor Roux, we'll start with you, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. August 7th, I toured the Cancer Support Center in Penetanguishene. August 17th to the 20th, attended the AMO conference in Ottawa. Very informative conference for all municipalities throughout the province. I attended the seniors barbecue at the arena on September the 4th. Attended the volunteer barbecue at the museum September 7th. Great evening. Thank you to the Friends of the Museum. And last evening, I attended the Curling Club board meeting. All things going well. And finally, August 29th, I attended the last Friday night concert at our amphitheater night soiree. This event, from beginning of June to the end of August, has been a total success in each and every Friday evening during the 3 months. Extremely well attended, 300 to 400 people every Friday. Kudos to Cole and staff of the Recreation and Community Services.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roux. Councillor Marchand.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I just wanted to share that and wanted to thank the SSEA for a really great open house that they hosted, and we were privileged to have it hosted here at the Curling Club in the town of Penetanguishene. Really well-attended event, great information, and it was really wonderful to see lots of people come out and gain some additional information about the SSEA. On August 16th, I got to attend and support the Cycle of Hope and the Après Cycle that the town partnered with the Cancer Support Center, which was really great to see. Lots of great participation, and was really pleased that that motion of doing this work together and seeing the results, it was really fantastic. Also attended the AMO conference, and always really interesting to hear a lot of the provincial updates and have an opportunity to make delegations and be part of that. And then also participated on the Executive Steering Committee Fire Services Review and wrapped up that work. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Councillor Vedabunker.
Thank you, Worship. I also attended the AMO conference August 17th to the 20th, and I always find them very informative and a good opportunity to catch up with old friends that I haven't seen for a few years. So it was quite good, and the delegations I thought were quite good as well. I also chaired a Committee of Adjustment meeting on August 25th. That's it, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think most of them have been touched on. I did stop at the SSEA open house. It was very informative, very busy night because of the Friday night event going on. I'm sure that helped the cause. It was a great time. I as well attended AMO. We go down on a regular basis. It's a very good learning thing for all of us that attended. The only thing we missed was the drug awareness flag raising, a very nice presentation by Mrs. Sanama. Did a good job with her folks. It went off well. We had a fun day at the seniors barbecue. It was very nice, even though the weather didn't cooperate. It was a quick move. Still had a good whack of people up there, so everything went well.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Waters, please.
Yeah, like everybody else here, I went to the AMO conference, had a delegation with her about community museum funding. So I guess we're waiting to hear back on that. We had a flag raising on the overdose awareness day. Attended our meetings for planning and community development, finance and corporate services, and dozens and dozens of people have contacted me on speed cameras and what's going to happen with them. And I just tell them, drive safe, use your cruise control, and don't get any tickets.
Thank you very much, Councillor Waters. I'm getting the same number, but I haven't sent them your way, so that's for the dozens for your way. Seal Lees, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple things. I won't touch on AMO, as a number of members of council have already touched on that. The staff are working diligently with respect to budget and preparatory work behind the scenes to prepare for our 2026 budget. So again, kudos to staff for that work, and certainly I think council and committee and the public will see a great end result as we move forward with that. And then just lastly, September 30th, the municipality is hosting a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation event in conjunction with our friends at the Town of Midland. This year it's our turn to host. There will be an invitation that's sent to members of council within the next day or so, inviting members of council to join. It is intended for municipal staff between the two municipalities, as well as members of council from both municipalities. And really look forward to paying our tribute to the importance of the truth and history with respect to our residential school survivors. Thank you, Worship, for that opportunity.
Thank you, Ciolise. I won't repeat everything my colleagues have mentioned, but I just want to start by just acknowledging our team and our staff here at the town of Penetanguishene. We did 3 delegations at AMO, and I think you and staff armed us with such great information that we were able to delegate well. And I want to thank Emily for getting everything coordinated and put together and making us look stupendously amazing. So thank you. Council, I think we did a great job with our delegation. Again, that wouldn't have been possible with staff's work. I also want to recognize staff for funding. We received almost $720,000 over since our last meeting for the community. About $675,000 for wastewater, where we're going to be relining our sewer lines from Fox Street almost over to the curling club. So great work to Brian and to everybody that contributed that. So recognition and thank you for that. There was only us and Severn Township that received that. So great work by our team that made that a reality. And we also received $55,000 for our senior center funding. And that announcement was done at the seniors barbecue last week. So Sherry, to you and your team, thank you again for that. And this just further goes on to the great work we do all the time, but just kudos and extra support for the work that everyone does for the community on a regular basis. A couple of things I'll just mention during the AMO Council. I know most of us participate in the Simcoe County reception. I thought it was great to have an opportunity to meet with everyone else in Simcoe County and the other MPs in Ottawa. I thought the reception hall and everything was great, so it was a good opportunity. I also participated in the last little bit Waypoint Community Leaders Forum, where the CEO from Waypoint meets with our North Simcoe heads of council to talk about issues that's going on. It was a great opportunity to reflect and help and celebrate with that. I've had a lot of inquiries regarding the RFP that's been released for the assessment of the new potential microgrid bus system. I just want to stress to everyone, no decisions have been made. The only thing this council has said is, let's see if there's another way of doing business. That's all we've done. The bus continues going on the route and continuing the work. And we'll get a report in the future about what that could bear. But I know there's a lot of people asking about that. Council, I've had many people reach out to me, and I've had a couple of meetings in the last little bit where people are asking that strong mayor powers are exercised to bypass some planning and building provisions within the town. Those meetings usually last about 2 minutes. I say no, and I guide them to staff to follow our OP and our zoning bylaw. So thank you, Andrew, to you and the team for fielding those. But I've been telling everyone I won't be exercising those for those provisions. This week, we participated in the Wardens County of Simcoe Golf Tournament. I think, like always, the town of Penetanguishene does a great job. From my lens, I think we won, but I don't know if we got the trophy this time. But we did get the best looking crew, and everyone did say that. So great job to us for that. And finally today, we were able to do a ribbon cutting in Midland at CompuSolve for a new cyber awareness open house at CompuSolve, where they're partnering with community leaders. So if you're wondering about cyber awareness, phishing, those kinds of things, they've got basically an escape room analogy where you can go in and see how you can better protect yourself. So check it out. It's pretty interesting. Again, thank you to everyone, and thanks to everyone that contributed and helped make everything a reality. All right, Council, let's move on. Number 9 is our proclamations. Before I read the motion, we have 3 of them. One's regarding Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, second's National Breastfeeding Week, and third is National Coaches Week. Does anyone want to pull them for further comment or question? Seeing none, the motion reads that the following proclamations have been given due consideration, be approved. Again, regarding Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, National Breastfeeding Week, and National Coaches Week. We'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Roux, second by Councillor Marchand. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed, and that is carried. Council, number 10 is a public meeting. We don't have any this evening. Number 11 is delegations. We have 2. Our first one's regarding a presentation from Electra. I believe this was a referral item that Councillor Vetter-Bunker asked for a while ago. So we have a presentation from Electra. Emily, are our friends here with us this evening? All right, welcome. So we'll turn it over to you. Welcome. We're glad to have you with us. We know you're a strong community partner, and we saw how strong your services are for the community, especially during the recent storm of this year. And we appreciate you being here to update us on the great work that Electra does in supporting our community. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. My name is Blair Peberty. I'll start. I'll introduce myself. I'm also joined by Stephanie Benessa and Elias Liberagianis, other executives from Electra, who will introduce themselves, and then Elias will take you through the presentation. I'm a Senior Vice President of Regulatory Government and Corporate Relations at Electra. So I am responsible for our regulatory affairs, corporate communications, including during storms, and government relations activities. I'm based at our head office on Derry Road in Mississauga. But we are down in St. Catharines and up in Barrie. We should be up in Penetanguishene more often. We certainly hope this meeting brings us up there more often. And we really do appreciate being invited here tonight and getting a chance to talk to you and tell our story. With that, I'll turn it over to Steph.
Hi there, good evening. I'm Stephanie Benazza. I'm on Blair's team, and I head up our municipal government relations practice here at Electra. I'll pass it over to Elias.
And good evening, Your Worship, members of council. My name is Elias Liberagianis. I'm the Executive Vice President of Asset Strategy and Operations at Electra. What that basically means is I look after the teams that do the planning for our assets, that do the design and engineering work when we construct, and obviously the construction, and finally the operations and the maintenance. So as Blair mentioned, what I'll do this evening is I'll take you through the deck that we've prepared and highlight some operational updates for you this evening. We will be available for any questions that are on your minds afterwards, so please don't hesitate to ask any questions that you might have. Now, before I proceed, I just want to confirm that the presentation deck that we shared is up on the screen right now. Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so maybe if I can ask, we go to the first slide, which is the next slide. And where we'd like to start this evening is with two items. And those two items are often the most important items to the customers that we serve. So the first item is affordability. And starting with that, the slide that you see currently compares electricity bills for various utilities in Ontario. And the customers in Penetanguishene fall under the Electra Power Stream rate zone, and you'll see that sort of on the right side. And our customers in Penetanguishene are currently paying approximately $50 per month for the delivery of electricity. Now you'll notice that this is a lower cost relative to other utilities in the province, and it's also noticeably below the average as shown by the chart. Now, this monthly billing number is actually a strong indicator for us. It's a strong indicator of the affordability that our services are at. And in particular, it's evidence that we have a commitment to efficient operations and to fair costs. Now, going hand in glove with affordability, of course, and I'll ask that we move to the next slide, is reliability. So affordability is obviously an important factor for our customers, but a real indicator of the service quality that we provide is the reliability of the system. And we often don't think about electricity until it's not there. And what you see on this particular slide are two measures that are common in our industry when it comes to tracking reliability. One measure is the number of times that an average customer will lose power in a year. And this particular chart, what you see here is Electra's performance, again, relative to a number of other peer utilities in the province. And the top measure, which is this one that I referred to as the number of times an average customer will lose power, is referred to as SAIFI. Now, the other measure, which is the second chart below, is the duration or the length in time that an average customer will lose power within a given year, and we often refer to that as SAIDI. Now, from these two charts, what you'll see, and these charts come from our regulator, the Ontario Energy Board, and the comparisons also come from them as well. You'll notice that Electra performs relatively well on both of these particular measures. And these are measures that we are particularly proud of, obviously measures that as an owner of the electric distribution system, we pay particular attention to, and we are very, very much focused on managing these. Now, this is a good segue to the next slide, which speaks a little bit about an upcoming rate filing that we have with the Ontario Energy Board. It's our rate rebasing period, and utilities will go before the board and will make submissions around the plans that they have in place. Now, this rebasing is the way through which Electra gains approval for our investment plans. I'll speak in a moment about those investment plans and just how important they are to the reliability of the system. And in the case that we're going forward and the plans that we're going to be submitting later on this fall, it's for a period of time which covers off the years 2027 to 2031. And approval that will come from that will also set rates during that period of time. Now, as we're finalizing the plans and we're sort of in the last steps of doing that as we currently speak, what I can share with you today is that the investments that we will be proposing are really grouped into three themes. So three sets of needs, in other words. The first need is all about renewing and replacing deteriorating and older infrastructure. So at Electra, we are seeing a growing number of assets that are in poor condition. They are aging, they are deteriorating, and these assets ultimately cause failures and power outages. And this particular theme is really about addressing that. And when we do file that with the regulator, what you will notice is the majority of the investment, quite frankly, the majority of the expenditures that we are planning are really in this particular theme, which is to address older, deteriorating assets. Now, the second theme that we have is really the need to invest in our system capacity. So really, it's about ensuring the system can meet growing demands. And as you know, sort of as our communities grow, as different technologies proliferate, the demand on the electricity system grows, and we are closely monitoring that, and we do see a need to continue to invest in that particular area. Now, the final need, and I think you referred to it, Your Worship, is really the need to invest in the resilience of the system. And that's particularly true when it comes to storm resilience. And in a moment, I'm going to talk a little bit about the event that we experienced in March and the storm. And really, the investments that we're going to be proposing in the coming rate period are going to be focused in on enhancing the resiliency of our system. Now, before I leave this slide, what I did want to accentuate is as we were developing these plans, one of the key elements within our process was ensuring that we had customer feedback. So we conducted an extensive customer engagement process. We sought opinions from our customers as we built this plan. And what I'm very proud of is that more than 80,000 of Electra's customers replied to a very detailed survey about the plans that we were proposing. So this also included about 18,000 customers specific from the Electra Power Stream zone, so that includes Penetanguishene. We didn't ask for a split within that Power Stream zone, but 18,000 is a very substantial number relative to what we've seen in previous rate cases. And more than 80% of the customers that reviewed our plans and engaged with the materials that we sent agreed with those proposed plans, which is a really high number. So we're very confident in the plan that we're going to be putting forward over the next month to 6 weeks. So with that, maybe if I can ask, we go to the next slide. And this slide speaks a little bit more about the specific details of investment within the town of Penetanguishene. Now, within these plans, again, what you'll notice is this trend around focusing investment on the need to renew assets. So this is really about the core of our plan. So things like changing poles, changing transformers, changing underground infrastructure, whether that's underground cables or pad-mounted transformers, pad-mounted switchgear. So that's going to be the predominant feature of our plans within Penetanguishene over the coming 5 to 7 years. But the plan will also include elements of resiliency. So one of the elements is going to be in investing in automation. That's especially true on some of the larger supply feeders that come into the town and supply the 4 local substations that supply the customers and the businesses. Now, a lot of this is being done with the objective, I apologize here. A lot of this is being done with the objective of ensuring a reliable supply, as I spoke to earlier. And what you see on this particular slide are 2 charts. Again, the SAIFI measure, which is the number of times a customer is interrupted in a year, and the SAIDI measure, which is the number of hours that a customer is interrupted. And these specific statistics that I show you here are specific to the town of Penetanguishene and the customer experience within the town. Now what I'd like to do is go to the next slide. Now what you'll notice in those reliability charts for the town of Penetanguishene is that reliability can be a little volatile. So we've been seeing a trend of improving reliability over the last 3 years. But one of the features of the electricity distribution system within the town is that it is supplied by feeders that come a long distance, and that can, especially in times of inclement weather, lead to some volatility and to some loss of supply into the town. So many of you will recall that approximately 10 years ago, back in 2016, one of the things that Electra endeavored to do was to address some of that volatility. And we endeavored to do that through the implementation of a microgrid at the Robert Street substation. Now, at the time, the microgrid was a cutting-edge solution. It was deploying energy storage at the substation and a series of advanced control systems that would allow us to feed portions of the customer base downstream of that substation using this microgrid and the energy storage there. Now, storage of this type typically has a useful life of about 10 years. And as time has passed, it has become increasingly challenging for us to source replacement parts and to really maintain the microgrid in a really strong condition. So what we've had to do recently is make the decision that we will be discontinuing the microgrid at the Robert Street substation. Now, we don't expect that this will impact the customer experience within the town or the system's reliability. And in fact, some of the investments that I spoke to earlier that we're planning for the next rate period, we expect those will allow us to provide some incremental improvements on reliability as we move forward. So now I'll move to the next slide, and this touches upon the storm response. And what I'll do here is I'll begin and speak to you a little bit about the operational experience. And what I'll do is pass it back to Blair, who will talk to you a little bit about our communications before speaking about some of the community aspects that we're involved in before we open it up to questions. So this particular item, on March 29th, the town experienced a very significant ice storm event, and the town in particular was hit quite hard. We experienced about 4,600 customers who lost power during that particular event. And one of the things that we had been doing in the lead up to that event is we had been tracking the storm and we were preparing our response. Now, when that event occurred, we mobilized our resources. And what we were able to accomplish was within the first 24 hours of that event occurring, we were able to restore the power to 60% of the customers within the town. Within the next 24 hours, so within 36 hours of the event occurring, we were able to restore power to 95% of the customers. And we were able to get the remaining customers back within 55 hours of the event starting. So that was an event that we really leaned into. We were quite proud of the response. However, we did learn some lessons, and those are certain things that we've taken back and are reflecting on and adjusting some processes to improve in the future. So with that, maybe I'll pass it back to Blair, and Blair will speak a little bit about the communications elements of that particular event. Blair?
Thank you, Elias. Yes, and of course, during power outages, communications are critical. And the one thing on our customers' minds is, do they know my power is out and how long is it going to be? And we of course, during a power outage, it's extremely difficult sometimes to actually communicate into the home. So one of the things we've done, and I'll speak to some lessons learned in a minute, but we try to get out advance notice to the extent that we can to customers through our social channels, social media channels, news releases to local media, and through Steph's office, proactive communications into municipal offices and municipal councillors. And I think, Steph, certainly the Penetanguishene Council is on our list and contact list, and we try to be as proactive as possible during these storms. One of the things we're working on now, and it will be hopefully instituted in the next 12 to 18 months, is the ability to text message customers when we have an outage, so that Penetanguishene residents and businesses, if they register with us, it will know your power is out. We would be able to send a text message directly to you, letting you know that we know. And that in and of itself is reassuring to people who are sitting in the dark. And we're hoping that will help to improve and make people feel a little bit more safer and confident that Electra is on the case. We also use our social media channels quite frequently and work closely with the local first responders across the service territory. And but I think most importantly is our communications people and government relations people like Steph are involved in our, we have management, emergency restoration office meetings every 2 hours during these major events. The communications staff are on those calls, and usually immediately after those calls, they're in a position to provide updates to councillors and municipal staff and others in the areas that are hit. That's one thing that Steph really leads, and I understand that she had been in touch with the Penetanguishene Council, councillors and mayors, and through that outage, and hopefully that was helpful to you. We understand that information is critical during these outages, and you can never have too much of it. So one of the things we've done, again, and these storms are becoming more frequent, unfortunately, but after every one, we do an evaluation of what we've done and the feedback we've been getting, and try to make adjustments to our communications processes. So also one of the things that Elias mentioned, he was talking about the frequency and duration of outages, and it's the numbers there were quite low. And sometimes people think, well, we were severely impacted during this ice storm. Where does that show up? Due to the increasing frequency of these major storms, that have been happening. And, whether or not they're caused by climate change, they are happening, and they're happening more frequently and more seriously. So the Energy Board considers those to be what's called major event days. So that outage would not be included in those outage records, but they are monitored by the Energy Board and by the utilities. And those outages, those major event days, have led the Energy Board and utilities to really focus in on storm response, climate change remediation, what we can do with the grid to help it withstand higher winds, ice loads, heavy rains, those kinds of things. And so in our rate applications, there will be elements of what it is that Electra's planning to do to increase the resilience that Elias mentioned earlier in this presentation. The Energy Board is very interested in that, and really, I would say, insists on utilities doing what they can to make the grids more robust, and not only the grids, but also ensure that communications to customers are adequate and meet the needs of the people who are unfortunately suffering during a power outage. So that's basically how we do the communications. They're done in real time. When we have these storms, the operations center is activated, and the communications to municipal partners is one of the top things on the agenda to ensure that Steph and her team have the information they need to relay. And ideally, and I know that in Steph's case, that she provides contact numbers to councillors and mayors should they need to contact her directly, should there be a problem at a particular location and they need an answer. So hopefully that's working for you. If not, let us know and we can work on that. Next slide, please. One of the when the merger occurred back in 2017, where PowerStream merged with the other utilities to form Electra, the board of directors at the time insisted that community support at the grassroots level continue, even though the company was becoming much larger and covering a much larger geographical area. They insisted that it maintain this local presence, this local frontline support. What you see here is the amounts of money we've invested in the Simcoe Muskoka area, and since the merger in 2017. This investment will continue. It's reviewed by the board every year. And they are particularly, as I said, interested in making sure that we are maintaining this frontline social service agency support. Now, the way we organize this program is we have a portal on our website where we notify the agencies that we've been supporting that it is open for their applications for at the moment for 2026. We're getting applications now, and the corporate communications team then will take those applications probably in another couple of weeks. And at that point, they prepare a report to the board of directors for the 2026 program. So what I wanted to mention is that these are the groups that we've been supporting in the Simcoe region. There's another section in Barrie and also in Vaughan and Richmond Hill and what have you. But if there are frontline agencies in Penetanguishene that are not-for-profits or charitable working in Penetanguishene that you don't see on here, let us know, and we'll give you the link into the website so that they can go in and take a look and make sure that they let us know they're there and are on our radar. The key areas that we've started to support based on feedback from customers and from the municipalities is food insecurity, mental health support for underserved communities, some environmental things, Indigenous support, and also support for visible minority students through scholarships and what have you. So if there are agencies that council is aware of working in the community that you don't see on here, food banks or smaller shelters, let us know, and we'll contact them to make sure that they are aware of this portal and can get an application in for the 2026 program. So that's all we have for the presentation today, Your Worship. Maybe we could turn it over to questions if there are any.
Well, I want to thank you so much for the presentation. I think that was great. Councillor Vadabonker asked a while ago after the storm, and I thought it was great to get the update and hear about everything you had touched on tonight about affordability. And I think we should also recognize Council of Past for starting this work by forming the relationship with Barrie Hydro and then PowerStream to bring Electra. And we see the leadership that's being done with Electra today. So thank you for sharing that today. Stephanie, thank you so much for quarterbacking this presentation, working with your colleagues. Blair and Elias, thank you so much for your leadership. I think this was great, and we really, really appreciate it. And Stephanie, I do appreciate the correspondence and the communication during the ice storm. I was able to relay that when that happened. So thank you so much. And as well, the community support. We appreciate the work that you do to help our community. Councillor Vadabonker, I'll ask you if you have any comments or questions. You started, so I'll ask you first.
Thank you, Worship, and I'll echo your comments to say thank you very much for coming to make the presentation this evening. It's just great to see you here and the information that you've shared. Certainly, it's been some time since you've come up, and I was glad to hear that you're planning to do this more often in the future. So that's great. So I do have a couple of comments and then a couple of questions. I did participate in the survey, and I thought that was excellent. It was a well-constructed survey, lots of questions. It certainly took some time to complete, and lots of choices within the survey, and so it was. I found it very informative. So I appreciate the opportunity to participate in that survey. You touched on reliability. And reliability is obviously important to the residents, but it's very important to the large businesses that exist in our community. And I know that the investments that have been done over the years have really strengthened that reliability, and you have a good communication protocol in place when you're planning an outage so that those large businesses can ramp down and adjust their equipment appropriately, because as I understand it, that equipment is very sensitive to sudden outages. So I appreciate that investment to improve the reliability. Sorry to hear about the microgrid being discontinued. I understand the rationale for that, but that was launched with a lot of fanfare back in 2016, and I think it did do what it was intended to do back then, but as you outlined in your presentation, unfortunately, some of the equipment has become dated and hard to source, and you've moved on from that. I want to just ask a question about governance and the board of directors. You referred to that a couple of times, and I don't know the composition of your board of directors, but is there somebody on the board that is from the local area? And I'll be generous, I'll expand that to include Barrie, but if there's somebody from Penetanguishene, that would be even better. I just don't know, so I'm just thought I'd ask the question.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, the mayor of Barrie. Well, the Barrie is a shareholder of Electra, and the mayor Nuttall is on the board, and the governance is based on the amount of equity that each municipality has in Electra. So there's Mississauga, Markham, Hamilton, St. Catharines, what have you, are the municipalities that have equity in the company. Barrie has a seat on the chair, but we don't have members from municipalities that aren't shareholders. There are independent members that the various councils appoint who come from business. But I'm not sure. I don't think there's anybody from Penetanguishene on the board at the moment.
Thank you. I just want to talk a little bit about the storm event. And during the storm event, and I appreciate the effort that was done, but from my standpoint, and just to share a little bit of an antidote, like everything shut down. And when I'm talking about everything, there was very little cell service. There was no internet, obviously no hydro. And I personally was getting lots of questions about what was going on and what was happening, and I was relying on his worship, which was great, but his worship initially wasn't getting a lot of updates, and certainly that improved. And I'm glad to hear that, you know, you did a debrief after the event and there was some lessons learned. But I think going forward, I think that the communication, particular to his worship, I think could have been better. That could have been shared with members of council who, through their outreach, could have shared with the community. And I'll just leave it at that, because it was quite a dramatic event. Typically, when you lose hydro, you still have cell service or you have something else, but we lost everything. And we shared a couple of funny stories at a council meeting afterwards, I think in April, about how some of us took into our vehicles and drove around until we could find cell service, and then we could talk to one another and communicate, because certainly it wasn't available at where I live, and I live right in town. So anyway, I just wanted to make that comment. I appreciate the efforts that were made, and I appreciate that you've taken the comments back and are working on some improvements. So thank you, Your Worship. That concludes my comments and questions.
Thank you. Council, any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor LaRose.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, thanks for coming, guys. The niceness is over. I'm going to challenge you on a few things. When you said everybody was back from the ice storm in 55 hours, my computer, when I got it up and running off my generator, gave me an indication that hydro would be back on at 11 o'clock that night. So 4 days later, which is a lot longer than 55 hours, we still had no hydro. So the communication wasn't very good, and I challenge you on your 55 hours. I don't know how familiar you are with our area, but we have an area of Champlain Road, Beechcroft, Military Road, and Lepage Drive. I've lived there forever and a day. 2 years ago, my hydro was out 16 times. The year before that, it was out 12 times. And I believe when you're saying now it's at 1.5, I think mine's been out 6 times this year already. So reliability on the service is not very well for me, or in your numbers on your charts. For you guys to come across and say, oh, it's only one, this and that, that's not true at all. So very, very glad that you came. I'm glad you get to hear this front and center, but I would hope you would be able to look into that and be able to provide us with some information as to why that region of 4 roads consisting of 164 houses is out at least a dozen times a year, and lots of times for 3 and 4 hours at a time, not 10 minutes, not a blip. I'm talking real hydro outage.
Yeah.
For the other part during your storm, your guys that were there were excellent. The employees that were working, they were there day and night trying their best. I have no problem with that. I just have a problem with some of your numbers tonight.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments or questions? All right. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Deputy Mayor, maybe you can send some information that can deal with it offline with you, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you again for being here with us tonight. We really appreciate the information. And Deputy Mayor, or Councilor Vadabunker, I think you said we're looking forward to having you back, so maybe we'll add as a referral for mid-year next year. Anyways, thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you again. You're always welcome in the town of Penetanguishene.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Okay, council, let's move on to our second presentation. We have a presentation regarding the local climate change action plan update from the Severn Sound Environmental Association. We have Mr. Jonathan Main with us this evening. Welcome. Thank you again for being here.
Hello. Well, as we just heard from Electra, that climate change is increasing frequency of power outages, so that was nice to have acknowledged. So we'll have the slides. They're just coming up right now. Excellent. Sorry, we have a package of all these documents, so I apologize for the glut of information, and we have a bit of a whirlwind presentation for you this evening. So my name is Jonathan Main. You can call me John. I'm the Sustainability and Climate Action Coordinator with the SSEA, the Severn Sound Environmental Association, and it's been my absolute privilege and honor for the last 2.5 years to be working with your council and staff on advancing climate initiatives. So if you want to move through the slides, so we're going to talk about the framework that we've signed on to, the PCP, the Partners for Climate Protection Program, and the milestones. Talk about where we're at. Also talk about some of the energy statistics that we're tracking. Talk about corporate actions, community actions, some of the success stories, and then talking about what's next. And as always looking for funding to advance this. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So the roots of the sustainability initiative comes from the great work the SSRAP, the Remedial Action Plan, did to try to delist the Severn Sound watershed. So there's a picture taken here in Penetang Bay. Penetang Harbor, celebrating that incredible achievement in 2003. Fast forward to 2009 on the sustainability plan, and it actually looks great here in council chambers, which broadened the perspective, not just looking at water quality, looking at social, economic, and environmental issues. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the sustainability plan was a great foundational document, collaborative across all the municipalities. And then the document that we're going to be talking about is the 2018 Climate Action Plan, which has given a lot of guidance towards energy efficiency and climate action. Next slide, please. So when we talk about climate change, they're kind of the two categories. Mitigation, which is also referred to as decarbonization, trying to reduce how much fossil fuels we use because CO2 as a greenhouse gas, attributing to climate change. And then the climate adaptation is the piece of building resilience to the new reality of climate change, which means increased rain, increased storms, and toughening our infrastructure. And as we just heard from Electra, trying to bounce back if you get hit with a big storm. So, and some things count as both, which is nice. So that's why we love planting lots of trees. In terms of the Partners for Climate Protection Program, this is the milestone framework that we're following. It's basically a recipe on how to do great climate work. And this is now 500 municipalities across Canada have signed on to this framework. So step one is we calculate the baseline. Where are we at? Step two is we set an emission reduction target. Step three was come up with the plan. And here we are at implementation in stage where we're implementing all the great actions. And then step five is to kind of reassess, reevaluate what has been successful, what more do we need to do, and kind of do a little more deeper dive into the numbers. So moving ahead, thank you. So again, these are the numbers from 2018. It's always a good reminder, the community uses an incredible amount of energy, natural gas, electricity, some propane, obviously gasoline. So a majority of the emissions energy used in the community is in the community. It's not the town hall, it's not the fire hall, it's not the sewage treatment plant. That adds up to about 1%. And then when you break it down, it basically kind of is about half and half. Half of the energy is used from our buildings, half of it is from our fleet. And that's the same when you look at the community energy usage and when you look at the corporate energy usage. We have lots of great buildings, we have arenas, and then we have a lot of snowplows and trucks and all the different equipment at the Parks Department. Moving ahead. Thank you. So we've set aspirational target for community reduction because we don't directly control what the community does. We just ask them nicely, but we do have a direct control over the municipal operations, and we've set a 25% reduction target, which we're moving towards. Thank you. To the next slide. And so in the Climate Change Action Plan, lots of great actions talking about community energy, talking about transportation, talking about corporate actions like reviewing your fleet, looking how you can look at green fleet. And since the plan was developed in 2018, the amount of electric vehicles that are available for sale has exploded, plug-in hybrids. Now there's even hydrogen vehicles, which is amazing to see. And also, it's really important that not only do you have the plan, it gets integrated into your other plans and documents. So it's in your 20-year strategic plan. It's Andrea takes it very seriously in terms of land use planning. There's mentioned in your official plan, in your asset management plan. So it's great to see those recommendations are integrated into your policies. And also great, the Bee City initiative has been great, and there's a lot of community support for that. Everyone loves pretty flowers, but we also just like to support pollinators and bumblebees and all the great things in that nature. And emergency management is also very important, but we haven't really contributed. Emergency management staff has done a really good job of updating for new threats, and they've handled that on their own. So that's a big check mark for that initiative. The next slide. In terms of community actions, again, this is very tricky to do, but Utown has advanced some great options. The county's link system, the Midland Penetang Transit System has provided amazing options. Active transportation has been really important. We used to call it telecommuting. Now we call it work from home or work remotely, and that's been able to kind of save a little bit of energy from saving people from driving around. And next slide, please. Thank you. So the documents that you have on your agenda, there's quite a bit of documents. We reviewed community actions, we reviewed corporate actions, and then we put together a little executive summary. And that's what those documents that you'll see there. Next slide, please. So looking at some of the statistics in the last few years is fascinating. It's been fascinating to me seeing some of the transportation stats, because you can see the COVID dip. When there was lockdown and people weren't driving, you did see a drastic reduction in energy usage in the transportation sector, but you're seeing that's kind of bouncing back to kind of pre-COVID levels. Next slide, please. And the other great thing is people are out walking and biking and taking transit, and we're seeing that numbers in the transportation statistics as well. So kudos to the town of Penetanguishene with a great cycle strategy, and you guys have invested in that initiative, and that's been great as well. Next slide, please. In terms of community electricity usage, we just had Electra here, which is terrific, and they've been great to sharing data with us. Just simple email to them. They'll help produce the energy usage. We also have Hydro One and natural gas. But just in terms of looking at the electricity usage, we've seen a slow uptick. And that's what we would expect because we're having more air source heat pumps, more electric vehicles, and more gizmos and gadgets in the house. It would be great if we could see energy reduced electricity usage go down. But in the reality, we're kind of be switching away from some of these fossil fuels to more electricity because our electricity in Ontario comes from green or low carbon energy sources. Next slide. We did a great visual staff. We were great. Shout out to Roy. He's a great sustainability champion, Roy Padnode. We were reviewing opportunities to look at some of the facilities. We're doing such a good job with recycling. We've been doing recycling for decades. More opportunity to do more organic diversion. And you can see at the back of the room, black, blue, and green bin. It's great to see that. The town hall is doing a great job when we took a look from top to bottom. Moving ahead, thank you. To the town of Penetanguishene, you guys are doing amazing work. Everyone is advancing this, taking it very seriously, looking at fleet. And I know you guys moved towards leasing vehicles, but here's a great shot of your new electric vehicle with an enormous 120 kilowatt battery for the water department. And you guys are also being very smart and strategic, planning ahead for new facilities. So say a new rec facility, planning ahead, putting the time and effort into thinking about that, tapping into grants and designing that to be energy efficient building. Lots of great, I got to give a huge shout out to Director Betty on the Sustainable and Affordable Community Improvement Plan. That's an incredibly innovative tool that no one else has in the county. And so that's a real gold star for the town of Penetanguishene. It's just a great initiative on how to advance sustainability and energy efficiency. And again, trees. We want to talk about all the great work that the town has done on trees in terms of tree protection bylaws, but now we're also looking at tree planting strategies, and having a tree giveaway was just delightful. Next slide, please. Again, so we've looked at some of the emission energy for looking at some of the facilities. Sometimes we do have some blips. So sometimes that's a human error, or sometimes it is. The township has used a lot of natural gas with the sewage treatment plant expansion. It has used more energy because it's processing more, and it's a little factory, and it's an incredible, we got a tour of that 2 years ago, and it's just an incredible facility with great staff. And what it is important to focus on is on energy audits and trying to reduce the energy used at facilities. So again, shout out to Director Murray. He was the one who introduced me to energy audits and the town has been doing that for 10 plus years, looking at how you can reduce energy at all your facilities. So that's just been terrific. And so we've been looking at Township of Georgian Bay. They've done a grant to look at all of their buildings, which is 13, but there's lots of great lessons learned from that and how to decarbonize a MacTier Arena. All those lessons learned can be used for Penetanguishene or Midland or the other Severstown municipalities. Next slide, please. In terms of air source heat pumps, that's a new technology that we're talking about. It's an electric device, but it can provide cooling and it can also provide heating. They're getting better and better, and they're working in lower and lower temperatures. There are backup ones that have propane or natural gas, but we're seeing that number drastically increase, and a lot of people are moving towards air source heat pumps to have an energy efficient home. Next slide, please. Again, talking about some of the great community actions, having a great community garden, and just building that sense of place and sense of community. That's been a great initiative. Shout out to the ship's company. I know sailboats usually don't use electricity or energy, but this one has been converted into having a little diesel engine into having electric. So that's a great initiative to see trying to electrify their vehicles and their fleet. And I know I'm a little bit running out of time. And public vehicle charging, that's really important. Working with staff to identify new opportunities. And my electric van is actually charging right here at the town hall charging port, which is just terrific. Next slide, thank you. Again, talking about trees, EV charging stations are terrific. Planning ahead for long-term, looking at energy audits. The CIP is a great success story, and as well as talking about the trees, tree protection, tree planting. These are great initiatives, very sustainable. Thank you. To the next slide. The next step, we're going to do a little bit deeper dive in terms of the energy analysis, in terms of the facilities in our community, find out where there's maybe energy anomalies, where there's opportunities for energy savings, and we'll kind of do a more fulsome data dive in that. We're also looking at community adaptation and how we can advance that and build resiliency, planning for various extreme weather and weather risks. So we've been looking at that as well. Next slide, please. We continue to look at funding opportunities. We've been looking at adaptation planning, funding available. If we don't apply in the next week or so, we're going to look ahead to spring 2026 and continue to look at ways we can collaborate. So it's not just Town of Penetanguishene doing a plan, it's the Severstown municipalities working together. Again, the town has been successful in pollinator funds, and you guys, as we were just mentioning, continue to be successful with provincial and federal funding. Next slide. And I just mentioned that we've been talking about an adaptation fund, but we'll skip ahead to the next one. If we can go to the next slide, please. Again, talking about the ice storm, that's a common theme of tonight's message. And one of the summer students had a great term. She called it a flashbulb moment. And I've been having that great conversation. Where were you when the power went out in 2003? Where were you at September 11th, which is the anniversary is tomorrow? But even positive stories of when Joe Carter hit the home run in 92, or Sidney Crosby scoring the gold winning goal in the Olympics in 2010. But the ice storm, these events unite us. In tornadoes, extreme weather, flooding events, we have a commonality, and there's a lot of knowledge in our community in terms of flooding that we can ask seniors how the community has handled in terms of extreme weather. Next slide, please. In terms of tornadoes, I love showing this graph because they've compiled all the tornadoes that have hit Canada since 1980. And so you can see some of the larger F1s, F2s, and of course the famous F4, the red one there that hit Barrie in 85, and how we just need to prepare for these extreme weather events. Next slide. And another new threat that we're dealing with is wildfires, but not directly here, but the smoke from wildfires from Western Canada. And so there's new digital tools that we're looking at so that we can stay up to date on new threats and new issues like air quality, which is a new emergent issue for us. We've never really smelt wildfire smoke in the air until 2023. And so this is a new reality, a new threat that we're dealing with. And I think that's maybe my final slide. So I just want to thank you again. Thanks, Council. And thank you to staff. It's been just a tremendous opportunity to work together and advance this. And I just want to say thank you.
John, thank you so much for your presentation. I appreciate the shout out and recognition of the great work our staff do. Two sides you mentioned Bee City. We're not talking about Bee City in town this week. Our team was attacked at the Warden's Golf Tournament this week. So we're just laying low on that. But thank you for the rest of the kudos. Councillor Marchand, comments or questions?
Thank you, Your Worship. And as the chair of the SSEA, I do want to thank you, Jonathan, for coming here and providing an update on our sustainability plan. And just kudos to staff for working so closely with you and the SSEA on all these great initiatives, working collectively for grants, and Andrea Betty as well for your creativity around the community improvement plan and really focusing on trees as a municipality because we're unique in that endeavor. So thank you again for all your great work, and I really appreciate you providing the update for us this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Councillor, any other comments or questions? See none. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate your leadership on this. Okay, Council, we're going to move on. 12 is our adoption minutes not already confirmed. We have a motion reads that the following minutes of council meetings be confirmed and adopted as circulated. We have one for minutes of August the 13th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Vadaboncourt. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. 13 is our consent agenda. We have nothing. 14 matters for consideration. Council, before we read this motion, does anybody have any comments or questions regarding matters for consideration regarding lift part lot control for Champlain Shores, 14A? Seeing none, the motion reads that a bylaw to lift part lot control for lands legally described as blocks 1, 2, 3, and 5 on Plan 51M 1234 be brought forward for council for consideration and approval. It's moved by Councillor Marchand, second by Councillor Vadaboncourt. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. 15 is a presentation and consideration of the report for Committee of the Whole. That's from Committee of the Whole last month, and we don't have any listen to what I normally say, so we'll just move right into it. Transportation Environmental Services section. Councillor Vadaboncourt.
Thank you, Worship. I'll be speaking to the Transportation Environmental Services section meeting of August 13th. We dealt with one consent item, and that was the Payette Water System Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks Annual Inspection Report. We had one matter for consideration, and that was the Columbus Award Drainage Act petition. And section is recommending that staff be authorized to submit the petition to transition the Columbus drain to a municipal drain in accordance with the Municipal Act, and that council appoint WSP Canada Inc. as the drainage engineer. We have one referral on our list, and that is the septage disposal and treatment. And we'll be speaking to that at our Committee of the Whole a little bit later. And we added one referral item, and that is to review the timelines for pothole repairs on local roads and the implications to move to a 21-day time frame for repair of potholes on local roads. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Rose. It's recommended that the recommendations from the Transportation Environmental Services section be approved as presented. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Vadaboncourt. Council, we have a motion. Does anybody wish to put anything for further comment or discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor Roux, please, for recreation.
Thank you, Worship. Committee of the Whole for Recreation Community Services of August 13, 25 had two consent matters. First was the Penetanguishene Memorial Community Center chiller replacement, and secondly, a memo from the Director of Recreation and Community Service in regards to Ontario Trillium Foundation capital grant. There were no matters for consideration. There remains one item for future agenda review. So it is moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan Rose that the recommendations contained within the committee report related to the Recreation and Community Service section be approved.
Thank you, Councillor Roux. Anybody wish to pull any for further comment or question? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor Waters, please, for Planning and Developmental Services section, please.
With Planning and Community Development Services, last month we had 4 consent agenda items. The first being the OLT decision on 221 Fox Street, known as Queen's Court. Number B was a memo from the planner regarding applications for 25 Jeffrey Street and 19 Harriet. C was a planning and community development second quarter update. D was a memo from the municipal law enforcement officer. Monthly activity report for June 2025. We also had 2 matters for consideration. E was the all-terrain vehicles and off-road vehicles permission on municipal roads and public attachment. And F was the town dock master plan and secondary plans. And there is currently 1 referral to upcoming agenda staff, being the 161 Church Street and options for future use. And as the co-chair, I would move that the Finance and Corporate Services section endorse the following additions and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff, and ask for a seconder.
Thank you. And the Deputy Mayor will second that.
Super.
Yeah. Council, does anybody wish to pull anything for further comment or discussion? And just for clarity, it's the recommendation contained within committee the whole report related to planning and development services section be approved. Nothing wants to pull for further. We've got to move in a second. Further comment or question? We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Councilor Marchand, please, for Finance and Corporate Services section.
Thank you, Your Worship. For our meeting of August 13th, we had 2 consent agenda items, the 2025 Q2 financial statement and the Building Department annual report. We had 2 matters for consideration. The first was the 2024 surplus analysis, and the second was the 2024 year-end financial report. There was no new items added to the referral to upcoming agendas, and the 3 items still remained on that. Having moved it as the chair and seconded by Councillor Waters, that the recommendation contained within committee of the whole report related to the Finance and Corporate Services be approved.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marchand. We have a mover and a seconder. Anybody wish to for the comment or question? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. All right, moving on. 16's presentation consideration report from special committees. We have none. 17 motion, which notice have been previously given. We have none. 18's notice of motion. Does anybody wish to present a notice of motion this evening? Seeing none. 19 is consideration of bylaws. We have a couple here, Council. Before I read them, does anybody wish to pull them for further comment or discussion? Okay, before I read the bylaws, Council, on May 1st of this year, we know the strong mayor legislation came in force and there's an opportunity for a mayor to veto bylaws. I'll just make a statement regarding that. As per the strong mayor legislation passed by the province of Ontario May 1st, 2025, I, Mayor Doug Rawson, hereby decide not to exercise the power of veto of the following bylaws passed at the Town of Penetanguishene Council meeting on September the 10th, 2025, in accordance with subsection 284.11.4A1 of the Municipal Act. And Council, the consideration bylaws reads that the Council of the Town of Penetanguishene introduce the following bylaws, and that the bylaws be read a first time, deemed to read a second, a third time, and carried. The first one's regarding bylaw 2025-38, an ATV ORV program bylaw. The second is bylaw 2025-39, a bylaw to lift part lot control of Champlain Shores. We'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Deputy Mayor, County Simcoe update, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're at the county. It was very quiet. We're just getting back from AMO. We had a quick meeting yesterday. The only major thing, there was not much concerning our town, but our one thing that we did talk about was creating a new tax class for affordable housing. We had a very nice presentation, lasted about an hour on that, discussing whether it was a good idea, bad idea, and we're going to be looking at it later on in the year. The only other thing that was happening down there is they're taking a driving course for ambulance drivers and first responders. They're doing an enhanced safety driving course, not just a driving course, an enhanced safety course. And they're looking at it from top to bottom, all the people, all the staff and everything. So that was about as exciting as it got.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The chief looked at me because I made a face at the same time. The word ambulance driver, I kind of still cringe at it. Paramedics, but it's all good. Deputy Mayor, you didn't acknowledge, and I'll state today, the Deputy Mayor has been appointed the Vice Chair of the county's Planning Committee. So congratulations on that, the county's Planning Committee. Okay, Council, announcements and inquiries. Councillor Roux, you always have one, so I'll start with you. Councillor Marchand.
I thought he was going to give us a Jays update. Yeah, just two quick announcements. So this weekend we have open doors at Simcoe County, and the town of Penetanguishene is opening its doors to 3 of our facilities, the Town Hall, the Sports Hall of Fame, and the museum. And so that's this Saturday, September 13th. From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I was asked to highlight that there will be lots of goodies, snow cones, cotton candy, all of that great stuff. And if members of council want to assist with tours and be part of it, to please let Kelly know. So that's great. And the other one is I just want to say and wish our fearless leader of Parks and Recreation, Sherry, all the best as she runs the Berlin Marathon on September 21st. So congratulations for getting in and doing it. And I know that you have a big trip planned, so congratulations, and do us proud, and make sure to wear Living Your Dream, and good luck with that race, and have a fabulous time with your family.
Well said. Councillor Roux.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just wanting to announce that the new 55+ center is receiving many inquiries, and the membership registrations are going well. If you have any questions or would like more information, please see Mariah Marchand at the arena during the center's customer service hours, Mondays from 1 to 4, Wednesdays and Fridays 10 to 4.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other members? A couple I'll acknowledge. One is regarding our parking strategy public information center next Wednesday here at 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock. We've done some great public engagement. This is really the next round of getting that, so we'll hear from the public. So please do participate, and there's more information on the website. So next Wednesday here regarding our parking strategy. I mentioned it earlier about the bus. I just want to let everyone know there has been no decisions. We haven't made any changes. The transit system will continue the way it has been. There is nothing, and I anticipate council will probably get something in October, November about what or if the options will be, and we'll be able to communicate what that looks like, but there is no changes to that. And my other comment is budget. We're coming into budget cycle. Council, if you haven't done your budget survey, please do. And we need members of the public to participate and do the budget survey. So you can get that on our website. We want to hear from you. We want to hear how we can better serve. So please participate on the budget. COLs, any announcements or inquiries from the administration?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to piggyback off your parking comment, the parking survey is also open, and I apologize if you mentioned that, but there is a parking survey, parking strategy survey that is open, and it's open until Friday, September 26th, which will help complement the public information center that the mayor just noted. So would love to get feedback from the community and the public with respect to that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Council, we're going to move on to confirmation bylaw. I have a motion reads the confirmation bylaw 2025-40 be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerks. Moved by Councillor Roux, seconded by Councillor Marchand. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. And we're going to look for a motion to adjourn at 8:18. Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Vadabanker. We're adjourned. Council, do we need to take a couple minutes? 2-minute break. All right, away we go. 2 minutes. Good evening, Council. We're going to call our Committee of the Whole meeting to order for Wednesday, September the 10th, 2025 at 8:23 p.m. Number 2 is our approval of the agenda. We have a motion to read the Committee of the Whole agenda for September the 10th, 2025 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Waters, second by the Deputy Mayor. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. 3 is declaration of pecuniary interest. Anybody have a declaration this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on. Number 4 is delegations, presentations. We have none. Council, number 5 is our council information package. We have 2. Does anybody wish to pull anything for further comment or discussion? Okay, we have a motion that reads that the council information packages have been given due consideration, be received for information. Again, there's 2 of them, one for August the 20th, 2025 and September the 3rd, 2025. Look for a mover, please. Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Vadaboncourt. Call for vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. We're going to move to number 6, section A, Transportation Environmental Services section, and turn the chair to Councillor Vadaboncourt.
Thank you, Worship. So now we're going to the Transportation Environmental Services section on the agenda. We have 2 consent agenda items. The Midland Penetanguishene Transit Ridership Update and the septage disposal and treatment options. Anybody wish to pull either one of those 2 items? Okay, seeing none, I'll read the motion that the following consent agenda items having been due consideration be received for information. Midland Penetanguishene Transit Ridership Update and the septage disposal and treatment options update. May I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor LaRose, a seconder. Councillor Marchand, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. We have 1 item for consideration, and that is the asset management plan. And I'll read the motion, ask for a mover and a seconder, and then I'll ask the director to provide some highlights for committee. That the 2025 asset management plan as presented in staff report ENG 2025-14 be approved. And further, that staff be directed to make the approved asset management plan 2025 publicly available on the town Penetanguishene's website as required under Ontario Regulation 588-17. And finally, that staff be directed to bring forward a 1% tax increase for consideration during the 2026 budget process. May I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor LaRose, second by Councillor Waters, and I'll ask our director to just provide some highlights on the asset management plan. Mr. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The asset management plan and document on tonight's agenda is phase 4 of the requirements that each municipality and public service board are required to prepare in an asset management plan. This is phase 4 of the province's regulation 588 requirements to prepare an asset management plan. It builds upon the asset management plan that we prepared in July of 2024 last year, which was an asset management plan for all of our assets and under current service levels. Tonight's asset management plan is an update to that. That includes all of our assets under proposed or recommended service levels, and also provides a financial strategy to bridge the gap between where our funding is right now and where we want to be, which is a fully funded asset management plan. We're a municipality that currently funds our current taxation funded assets at approximately 50% of where they should be in terms of the life cycle costs of all of our assets, which total a little over $500 million. This is a similar situation that a lot of our peer comparators find themselves in. Midland and Tiny Township are also reporting numbers that are very similar to that. Earlier this year, we presented a financial plan for the water and wastewater assets, which presented rate increases to accommodate not only what's in our 10-year capital plan, but also for the full life cycle of all of our assets. So this plan will provide the benchmark upon which all future asset management plans that the municipality is required to file and report upon to council every 5 years, at which time we can track and trend our successes in terms of infrastructure investments upon previous plans and gauge the effectiveness of the plans as they are brought forward. So this culminates approximately 4 or 5 years of work for our staff. And I'd like to thank our asset management coordinator, Marie Richardson, for preparing the document. A lot of excellent work and tireless effort has been made to bring the report forward to this point, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Any questions by members of council? I'll just make a couple of comments. The deputy mayor and I talked about the asset management plan and the importance to the municipality at our section meeting. We also talked about the progress that the municipality has been making since we started this process in 2022, that this council and the previous council made infrastructure rehabilitation and enhancements a priority, and certainly that's reflected in the work that we see and in the grant applications that we submit and in the grants that we receive, all helping to maintain our assets. So thank you very much, Mr. Murray, and please extend council's appreciation to the staff member there that prepared the asset management plan. It's a significant amount of work, and it's good to see it here before council. I have a question for the clerk. In the report, it talks about a 1% infrastructure tax increase, but on the agenda, the motion is more general, and it just talks about a 1% tax increase for consideration. And my preference, Madam Clerk, would be that the 1% be tied to infrastructure. So I wonder if a friendly amendment would be appropriate to reflect that the recommendation that's in the staff report, that it be directed toward infrastructure enhancements.
Thank you, Councillor Vadimokar. Of course, if we can add annual infrastructure into the motion in order to reflect the report.
Thank you. Is the mover and the seconder okay with adding that in? Okay. Any further comments or questions, having heard the motion with the friendly amendment? All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Moving down to referrals, we have 2 referrals. We have the septage disposal and treatment resolution, and we have the level of service policy for the repair of potholes, and both are listed. We did receive an information report on septage. However, as you would recall in reading the report, that issue has not been finalized yet, so we're suggesting that that stay on the referral list. Are there any new items that council would like to add to the referral list? Seeing none, I'll read the motion that the Transportation Environmental Services section endorse the following existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff: septage disposal and treatment resolution, level of service policy for the repairs of potholes. We have a mover, Councillor Roux, a seconder, Councillor Waters. Any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Question period from the media and the public. No questions. Anybody online to ask questions? Oh, seeing none, I'll turn it back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Vadimokar. 7, Section B, Recreation Community Services section. You turn the chair to Councillor Roux, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Recreation Community Services on the consent agenda. We have 4 items, and that the following consent agenda items haven't been given due consideration be received for information. One is the Summer Culture Festival Ad Hoc Committee meeting minutes of June 10th, 25. Second is the Wellbeing and Accessibility Committee meeting minutes of June 12th, 25. Third is memo from the Director of Recreation Community Service enhancing access to spaces for everyone grant. And fourth, the community memorial for residents. Does anyone have any comments or concerns? There being none, the mover, Councillor Marchand, and seconder, Deputy Mayor LaRose, all in favor. Thank you. Matters for consideration, we have none. And referrals that the Recreation and Community Service section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. And we only have the one, the memorial opportunity. Does anyone have any that they wish to add? There being none, mover, Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Marchand, all in favor? And that brings us to question period from media and the public. Nothing. So, Your Worship, back to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Leroux. 8, Section C, Planning Community Development Services section. And turn the chair to Councillor Waters, please.
Thank you. This evening, we have 3 items on the consent agenda, being the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes, the Economic Advisory Committee response to tariffs, memo from the Municipal Law Enforcement Officer. Would any member like to pull in or comment on any of these items? And then
the B, the Economic Advisory Committee response to tariffs, if I can pull that for a separate discussion.
Thank you. Then we'll deal with the other 2 items and then return to this one. Excuse me. Then I shall move forward with the resolution that the remaining consent agenda items being the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes and the memo from the Municipal Law Enforcement Officer having been given due consideration be received for information. All in favor? No, move by Councillor Marchand and seconded by Councillor Badaboncar. All in favor? And that would be carried. So returning back to the Economic Advisory Committee response to tariffs. Turn the chair.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. Council, we saw a motion similar to this a few months ago, and there was a recommendation of a motion for Council's consideration to support tariffs and Economic Advisory Committee actions as we move forward. As a council, we did not move forward with that. We were waiting for some action from the County of Simcoe. Recently, our Economic Advisory Committee met as our local committee, and they looked at this item. And I'm just looking at the minutes and what was discussed, and they felt that this is something they'd like to have our council look at, discuss, and support. Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend that we adopt the motion that was crafted by the Economic Advisory Committee, and we support what that committee was looking for.
Find my spot here in my notes.
I can help if you want, but I'm sure Madam Clerk has it, and I'd be happy to move it.
So we need a mover.
Yeah, and I'm happy to move that. Madam Clerk, would you be able to help with that?
Through you, Councillor Waters, to Mayor Rawson, yes, if you would like to support the motion, a simple motion such as that council support the the motion related to the response to tariffs raised from the Economic Advisory Committee be approved.
So moved by our mayor and seconded by our deputy mayor. All in favor? And opposed? Carried. Moving to matters for consideration. Tonight we have 5 matters for consideration. The first being the local climate change action plan update. With the recommendation that council applied to the Partners for Climate Protection Program for milestone 4 for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions as part of the local climate change action plan. So it'd be moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by our deputy mayor. All in favor? And that's carried. Second item this evening would be the extension to draft plan approval for St. Andrews Village subdivision, Penetang or PN-SUB 2019-02, with the recommendation that the draft plan of subdivision PEN-SUB 2019-02 concerning the 1114 Fuller Avenue be deemed not to have lapsed pursuant to section 51 33-.1 of the Planning Act, and that an extension be granted to draft plan of subdivision PN-SUB 2019-02 concerning 1145 Fuller Avenue for a period of 2 years. And do we have a mover for that? Councillor Vadabonkar, second by Councillor Marshall. All in favor? And it's carried. Our third item is, I'm having a hard time with my throat, 200 Main Street and 35 Thompson Road. The official plan amendment, file number OPA 2024-01, and zoning bylaw amendment, file number ZA 2-2024. And we have a mover for that. Just leave it. Read the motion. Sure.
All right. We're on F, and I'll read the motion, Council, that the official plan amendment file number OPA 2024-01 for 200 Main Street and 35 Thompson Road West, file number OPA 2024-01, be approved on the basis that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms to all applicable provincial plans, the County of Simcoe official plan, and represents good planning for the reasons outlined in staff report PL 2025-18. And that a bylaw to enact the official plan amendment number 1 to the Town of Penetanguishene official plan be approved. And further, the council directs staff to submit official plan amendment number 1 to the County of Simcoe as the approval authority for approval. And further, that the zoning bylaw amendment file number ZA 9-2024 for 200 Main Street and 35 Thompson Road West be approved on the basis that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms to all applicable provincial plans, the County of Simcoe official plan, the Town of Penetanguishene official plan, and represents good planning for the reasons outlined in the staff report PL 2025-18. And finally, a bylaw to amend the Town of Penetanguishene comprehensive zoning bylaw 2022-17 be passed, and that's in attachment number 3 to the staff report. I'm going to look for a mover, please. Councillor Vadabonkar, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Further comments or questions, Council? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. G, short-term rental licensing program update. We have a motion that reads that the proposed changes in administration of the short-term rental licensing program include the elimination of the use of Grancius software, which is used for short-term rental property identification and for the 24-hour complaint telephone line, be approved. We'll look for a mover. Councillor Waters, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Comments or questions? Councillor Vadabonkar.
Thank you. Thank you, Worship, and thank you, staff, for this report. I had some concerns when I read the recommendation to eliminate the 24-hour complaint telephone line. That I thought would be or is a valuable service to our residents, considering we don't offer 24-hour municipal law enforcement. So I see that in the report, it talks about the estimated cost for Granicus for 2025 is a little under $5,000. If the municipality just went with the 24-hour hotline service, does staff have an estimate of how much that would cost?
Director Betty?
Thank you very much. I would have to go back to the original or an invoice from them to see how they've outlined it. I think it's generally about a third of that cost, though. I think the three services that we purchased from Granicus is split about a third of that $5,000.
Councilor Vadabunker?
Thank you, Worship. And I think, I understand the rationale in the report. I think it makes sense. I'm just a little concerned about the 24-hour hotline because, as I said, some of these calls come in 11 p.m., 1 p.m., or sorry, 1 a.m., I should say, and having that hotline there is an effective way to receive the complaint and then address it initially. And for fairly minor cost in comparison to, say, having a municipal law enforcement officer respond, I think it would be worth keeping. So I'd like to propose an amendment that the component of the recommendation dealing with the 24-hour complaint telephone line be deleted from the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vadabunker. Before we move that amendment, I'm just going to see if Director Betty or CEO Lees, would it be best if we possibly defer this and give you some time to look at that and come back next month with more, or do you want to look at amending that now?
Through your worship, maybe I'll defer to Director Betty just to give a little bit of context on what that means as it relates to licensed properties versus unlicensed properties.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Worship. So there is some information. I'm trying to pull it up on my computer and it's not coming up fast enough for me tonight to be able to do that. I would want to take a look at our contract with Granicus just to ensure that we're not we have to purchase a minimum number of their services because we don't purchase the whole gamut of services that they do. It is a 90-day clause to exit that agreement with them. So the service is good until the end of the year. So I'm just aware of that timeframe that would bring us into, sometime in October to give them that notice. But I think we can work out those details with Granicus and bring back something next month.
Councillor Vadabunker, you did bring a motion. Would you be okay with us deferring this and allowing staff to look at it and come back next month with more?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to defer this back to staff. It's moved by Councillor Vadabunker, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Next is referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. We have one item. Does anybody wish to add any further referrals? Okay, the motion reads that the Planning and Community Development Services section endorse the following additional existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. We have one item regarding 161 Church Street. It's moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Vadabunker. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Question period for media and public. Emily, there's no one still in line to talk to us about Planning and Community Development Services section? All right, we're going to move on to Section D, Finance and Corporate Services. Councillor Marchand, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. And for Finance and Corporate Services for this evening, for consent agenda, we have one item that the following consent agenda item having been given due consideration be received for information, the Fire Department Financial Analysis 2425. Can I get a mover? Your Worship, second by Councillor Waters. Any questions or comments with regards to this report? Your Worship, is that a... Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Renaud, for providing this update today. I thought it was fulsome. I think it answered all the questions, and it makes me feel better about some of my inquiries. So thank you for that fulsome. I am a little concerned. Two things. One, that we had a deficit position when we did increase the budget, knowing training and calls. Like, I think some of the things you identified in the report, we knew pre that, and we did increase that budget to do this. I am a little concerned about that. And I'm also concerned that this year we're on track to again have another deficit. I'm hopeful that operationally, there are things being done that we're able to minimize that as much as possible as we come into the end of the year. So I just want to be mindful of that. And I'd also like to see through you or through the CEO that perhaps we can get some more updates from you and your team about the work that happens. For example, tonight and previous time, Director Betty would report on bylaw, or we hear about building and things are going on. I'd love to see more reports on a quarterly basis, high level. How are we doing? How are things trending? Which might give us more indication that we may have to look at budgetary pieces because there are constraints. So again, I appreciate that, but just some things I'd like to be mindful of as we move forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Your Worship. Any other comments or questions? CEO Lees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just through Your Worship, just to that last point, if I can, certainly we'll take that back at a staff level, and the Chief and I will have some conversation. I know it's something that is done in other municipalities, and I think it's something that we certainly can accomplish and pull off. And I think there are some municipalities actually locally within our region or within our county that do it. So certainly happy to take that back and report back to Committee of the Whole in the future. Thank you.
I would just echo that at section, certainly when we had the discussion, it was that we do appreciate the report, Chief Renaud, and the breakdown. And one of the things that certainly we looked at was that was a larger than expected, I think, deficit in that area. But I recall from our initial training, you were very, very clear on the changes that are being brought forward on our volunteer services in terms of being at the level of a full-time firefighter in terms of the training and the demand and the additional hours of training that are required. And with that comes a significant cost as well. And so there was clarity around, charges and hourly rates on the training versus the stipends for calls out. We just talked about the ice storm tonight. So there was lots of involvement around fire in that particular, in this year as well, that would absolutely be one of those drivers in terms of service and calls. So do appreciate the report. And it was really good to see the breakdown in each of those areas and those human resources costs. We know that, those things continue to drive, but we did anticipate knowing that training was going to be, one that was going to hit us kind of where it would hurt a little bit, but ensuring that we're in full compliance, which is so important. So thank you for that. So with that, we'll call a vote. All in favor for the report? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next item for matter for consideration is the digital sign plan. I'll read the motion, then we can get it on the floor for discussion. That staff be directed to include the following locations in the 10-year capital plan for the 2026 budget process as outlined in staff report CL-2025-09. Thompson Road and Highway 93, 2026. Fuller Avenue and Robert Street East, 2028. Wharf, 2030. Town Hall and Fire Hall, 2032, Arena, 2034. Can I get a mover? Councillor LaRose, seconder. Oh, excuse me, Councillor LaRue, my apologies, seconder. Deputy Mayor LaRose. Any comments or questions with regards to the report? Councillor Bedevancourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellent report. Glad to see it on the agenda this evening. So just a little bit of history, and our clerk has outlined some of that history in the report. We did approve in late 2023 a sign installation to take place in 2024. Due to circumstances beyond staff's control, that never took place. It's now being installed in 2025 as we speak, and the sonotubes are, I think, in the ground, and hopefully we'll have a sign there by the end of this year. So looking at our sign installation program, and this is just me speaking personally, I thought that there might be the opportunity to have one a year, like 24 and then 25 and 26. Now, the clerk in her report to section is recommending every 2 years starting in 2026. So 26, 28, 30, 32, and 34. I don't have an issue going forward with a every 2-year plan, Madam Chair, but with respect to making up what we didn't have, in my mind, there would have been a sign installed in 2024. We would have had a proposal for 2025. We would have dealt with that. And then perhaps we would have been considering this report to move to a 2-year cycle. In the report, it talks about different sizes of sign, and I thought that was really astute of staff to look at, a large sign, and then there's a medium sign, and then there's a small sign, depending on the circumstances where these signs would be installed in the municipality. And I want to note that for the arena, which I advocated a couple of years ago for a sign, that's identified as a medium-sized sign. And those of you who are familiar with the arena know that there is a letterboard sign in front of the arena right now. It's got 2 pylons sitting there. The sign sits in a box and it's lit. And staff have to physically go out and change the letters and whatnot. So I'd like to propose an amendment to the recommendation that the arena sign be moved for consideration as part of the 2026 capital budget as a medium-sized sign as outlined in the staff report. And then that would enable 2 signs to be installed in 2026. And then we would follow the cycle as recommended in the staff report. I know in the original report back in December of 2023, the arena scored last out of the 9 potential locations, and I kind of had a chuckle back in 2023 when I saw that, and it probably still scores down near the bottom. But I indicated, part of the problem with the sign location at Robert Street West and where it is that there was the need for locates, there was a need for bring hydro to the sign. There were all kinds of, as I said, all kinds of circumstances beyond staff's control. At the arena, the arena is already served by electricity. The pylons are there. It's a matter of structuring the sign so that it can fit on those pylons. I'm not an expert in these type of things. Obviously, there'd be some additional work required, but I think it's a lot smoother process than what establishing a brand new location. So I know that's a little bit long, Madam Chair, but I'm going to move an amendment to the motion that the arena sign be moved to be considered as part of the capital budget for 2026. Thank you.
Any other comments? Or do we have to move that first? I always get confused at this part. Sorry.
Through you, Madam Chair. So just to clarify that moving the arena signage to 2026 is in addition, or like, did you want to add it and keep the 2034 sign? Or would this be like, is this an addition to in 2026 and then as well in 2034? Or is that?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the clerk. No, it would move the arena sign from 2034 to 2026. So a new sign would be installed in 2026. Thank you.
Go ahead, Your Worship.
Councillor Vadabonker, this is what I'm hearing. I'm wondering if this is a workable amendment. So staff have brought forward a recommendation tonight, hearing what we've said, and they're recommending a 10-year capital plan, and part of the 26 budget process, we follow the sign allotment that they've identified. I'm hearing you say tonight that you'd really like to make 2026 2 signs. I'm wondering if the motion, instead of us being so specific about the arena in 2034, making it a 2026, because what I believe is the reason why the arena was picked 2034, it's based on our 10-year MERC plan. And I believe the reason why we put that in 2034 is if MERC becomes real in 2034, that would be the new sign there. So what I'm hearing you say is, what if we ask staff tonight, the motion as reads, following locations 10-year capital plan for the 2026 budget process, but that we would like the consideration of 2 signs in 2026. And during budget, we can look at medium sign, large sign, and all those intricate details Because we may look at it and say we can't fund 2 signs. We may say we're only going to fund 1. We may say we're going to fund 3. But hearing what you're saying, could we just ask staff to come and bring that consideration through the budget process and leave the outline that they've identified and just placeholder 2? Just putting that out based on what you suggested.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no objection to what you're suggesting, Your Worship. That's only 1/2 of what I had talked about, but I think that's a good first step, and then we can have this discussion as part of the budget process in terms of identifying the sign. I think, and I would hope that when we have those discussions, we might have some preliminary budget numbers associated with a medium-sized sign. I have no idea what a medium-sized sign costs, but if we could, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Waters, go ahead.
One of the things I was thinking about, if we have a proposal for a sign at Fuller and Robert in 2028, and yet we're doing construction on that intersection this year, would it not perhaps be more economical if we were to put the sign, move that sign forward to this year and then switch Thompson Road and Highway 93 till 2028?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Waters. The reason why staff didn't recommend the Fuller Avenue and Robert Street East location this year was because we're not sure how that construction is going to go, and we're very limited on the space that we have at that intersection. So it was recommended in 2028 to get a sense as to where things are going to be after the construction is done, and at that point we can find space, because at this point, due to sight lines, we might have to acquire land in order to put a sign at that location.
CA Elise?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to follow up on what the clerk noted, in our rationale for prioritization, we do talk a little bit about that particular location. So it might just give Councillor Waters a little bit more context to what the clerk just noted. And then just through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Vatabancourt, just something for committee to chew on. Towards the bottom of the report, we do give pricing on the full, micro, and mid signs. We've indexed them, of course, so when you see mid in 2030 versus mid in 2034, there's a slight differential, but that's because we've indexed as we note above the table. So just to give committee a little bit of context in terms of the pricing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think we've raised lots of good questions in dialogue, and I think, we'll move the motion as is, and then once we get to budget, have that further discussion about the potential too for 2026. Okay. I did have a mover and a seconder, correct? Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. And finally, referral to upcoming agenda and staff referrals. That the Financial and Corporate Services section endorse the following additions and existing referral to upcoming agenda items from staff. Before we move through and ask if there's anything to add, we can remove the Cultural Alliance report that has been completed. We've addressed digital. We have to leave that one for now, but we did have the Electra presentation this evening, so we could remove those 2 items. Is there anything to be added at this time by any member of council? Seeing none, can I get a mover? Mayor Rawson, seconder, Councillor Waters. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that carries. Any questions from the media and public? Seeing none, back to you, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. We're looking for a motion to adjourn at 9:01 p.m. Moved by Councillor Waters, second by Councillor Marshall. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.